Hey Book Bounty Hunters, today we're going to be ranking the top 5 canon Star Wars books. Now this is my personal opinion, my personal taste. This also doesn't include, there's going to be another Thrawn book that comes out in just a week. So maybe that's going to come in here and crack the top 5. But as you can see that this is a, I think I kind of spoiled a little bit of the number 5, but it's okay. But yeah. It's a nice thick pile, and I definitely did, but that's okay because we're gonna get right into it. Number 5 is Aftermath, Empire's End. Aftermath is a weird trilogy. So it is a trilogy of books that takes place after episode 6. It was kind of supposed to bridge the gaps in between the 7, and it's I remember the first 2 books being kind of rough for me. I have heard that people have reread it and have really enjoyed it. I do love the art on the Aftermath series. They are just gorgeous. I love it. And then of course we had that tease, where we were all like, oh, Rey's home, what? Yeah, good times. But this tells the end of the story. This leads to the Battle of Jakku and what ends up happening with the Empire, and where we start to kind of lead into possibly the very, very early days of the First Order. Overall, this book is such a great conclusion that even if the first 2 books aren't working for you, I do think that this is a must read, and I think it is important to canon. There are actually, if you've read or if you've seen Mandalorian, you might recognize a character from it. So definitely, I cannot recommend this enough. Really. It's odd. It's definitely odd. When you pick it up, you'll see, because there's like these short stories that kind of go in between the story. It's interesting. Yeah. Aftermath. Even to this day, I just remember, I'll never forget reading those final chapters and just having my mind blown and just. You're in for a ride. So number 4 is Star Wars Catalyst, Rogue One novel. This cover is also, just look at that. Star Wars covers. They know how to do Star Wars covers. Like, holy crud. This is by James Luceno, and this is a prequel to Rogue One. It takes place in the Clone Wars and leads up into where we see the family in the beginning of Rogue One. I love this book. I love the character between Krennic and also Galen Erso. Man, it's been a while since I've read this. But you lead that. And I think what I love about this book so much is that you realize that the Separatists might not have been the bad guys. During the Clone Wars. And so I do think this is definitely, if you love Rogue One, this is a must read. Like, this is such an incredible book. It is beautiful. It has a little bit of shimmer on the Death Star. Beautiful. Love it. So now we're in the top 3. This is hard. These 3 books are very special. I love these books. Number 3 is Star Wars Bloodline by Claudia Gray. And again, incredible art. What I love about this cover real quick is that it gives you that really good propaganda feel. And so what I really think is cool about this book is that it really focuses on Leia, and it focuses on her leading up into The Force Awakens again. And this one really gives you more of like that very like, we are about to see the First Order, and it's very political. It has so much tension. It gives you a little bit of insight around the galaxy. And in my opinion, one of the largest moments in the galaxy happens in this book, and you don't see it or experience it in any other way than by here. And I won't spoil it. She's basically running to be like the new, like, they don't call it the Supreme Chancellor. I forget what they call it. They call it, I forget what they call it because they have a new government now. And so she's running for that, and things go down. And yeah, overall, if you're a Leia fan, if you want to get some more context for the sequel trilogy, if you really want to experience that galaxy changing event, this. Plus, Claudia Gray is considered to be one of the best, if not the best, Star Wars authors. She's my personal favorite at the moment. Charles Soule and Kevin Scott definitely are coming up there, though. They are, but it makes sense because they are working together on the High Republic. So speaking of High Republic, number 2 is The Rising Storm by Kevin Scott. Now, this is just the original cover. It does have, this one has green edges, and it's signed, which is really cool. But yeah, this book is a roller coaster. Oh my gosh. So the High Republic has been really special. Like, it has been in a special story, a special initiative that they're able to tell all these stories and collect them together. I just, the events of the fair and what goes down and what ends up happening at the very end just solidifies this as one of my favorite books. It shocked me and it left me like, I could not stop putting this down. Very similar to Light of the Jedi. What I love about Light of the Jedi is the lead up to the event, because it's like counting down, and I thought that was so unique for a Star Wars book. But after that, it kind of slowed down drastically, which I get, but this book just consistently just put me through a heck of a ride, and I cannot get over it enough. Like, oh my gosh. And number 1 might not surprise some people if you're familiar with Star Wars books. It's again a Claudia Gray book, and it is, of course, Lost Stars. Lost Stars was also on the journey to The Force Awakens. As you can tell, a lot of these books are from those early days, which is interesting. I do love a lot of these other books, and a lot of these other books have done an incredible job, and I love these stories. There's very few that don't really do much for me. I don't think there really is any, but this book, it is, I don't want to spoil it, but it is such a great entry book, in my opinion, especially if you're familiar with Star Wars, because it gives you new characters, and yet it gives you some familiarity without spoiling. And I love this book. Just because it's a young adult book does not mean it's not for adults. Adults definitely can read this and should read this. It's from the perspective of youth, and I just do. Claudia Gray, y'all. If you're only to read one Star Wars book, and it's one canon Star Wars book, Lost Stars. Some people might say a Master and Apprentice, but which is also written by Claudia Gray. But so yeah, that is my top 5. It is a interesting list. I think there's definitely some here that people will agree. There's some that some people might not agree. What do y'all think, though? Let's talk about it down in the comments. I really want to hear what your top 5 or top 3 Star Wars books are. And heck, if you're into Legends, I want to hear that too. I'm just not familiar at all, so I didn't include any because I think I've read some when I was a kid, but besides that, I haven't. So thank you guys so much for your support. If you haven't already, hit the like and the subscribe button. It does help the channel out a lot. And also check out check out bookbounty.com for your up-to-date information for collecting Star Wars books. I also, if you're not familiar with Utini, I support them. They are a great podcast, a great resource for Star Wars books. And I cannot recommend them. First of all, they're a great community of friends. I love them. And yeah, they ultimately they're your go-to source for Star Wars Legends and Star Wars canon and books. So seriously, check them out. They do podcast every Monday for just a general show, and they do other shows too if you're into comics and legends and such stuff for everyone. Check Utini out. But yeah, thank you guys so much, and have a great day, bounty hunters.